Welcome to Recouped the podcast, where we uncover the depths of sustainability and its impact on the world.
We're your hosts, Vicky
and Michelle.
And together we'll explore what it means to live more sustainably. Dude, has anyone told you that our bags are expensive?
Yeah.
What did they say?
Totally.
I only
so
remember one
like when
person.
we were going into business, we were like, we're not going to let these people deter us from, making up our mind on how we price our bags, because we're working really, really hard.
Yeah, we are working hard. But we haven't had that many people, right, tell us that our bags are expensive. But we have had to, I feel like, maybe sometimes justify our pricing when we're like, sustainable products are, or at least ours takes a lot of work, right? Yeah. And that it does take a lot of, I'm sure other people out there.
Sourcing our material, the labor-intensive work to take it apart the bags and wash the bags and then put them together. And since we're trying to do it as sustainable as possible, like we're doing a lot of volunteer work for our business, let's just say. So when we come up with our price points, we try to justify it as like how much today's economics, like the cost of living and how much minimum wages and stuff. We try to just like break it down, and we'll try to average this much.
But then also
we're not
it affordable.
Asking that much.
Because I know for me too, it's like, okay, we got to make sure that we are getting
our accessible
work, but then also like what work we're doing, that we're getting a decent. We're getting paid and we're not feeling broke from it, but then at the same point making it accessible to everyone, because I know for us, we are at that situation where we want to make sure that we're not pricing people out who want accessible sustainability, because
that would be hard.
It's hard because we want everyone to be able to live as green and as eco-friendly, as they can in their life.
And we have a quality product.
Yeah.
That, so we feel justified in our prices.
We do. But that means you've probably seen sustainable products out there that are not accessible.
Yes.
But
the reality is sustainability is not affordable.
Yeah. Tell me more. So when it comes to all that kind of stuff, how does sustainability and accessibility intersect? What do you think? Because like you said, sustainability isn't always accessible, and that comes from, what was the three things that we talked about? The three major
components of sustainability that we are always focused on.
Environmental,
economics,
and social. Yeah.
So paying a premium for sustainable products is just not that realistic.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that we could think about too is, okay, so one, sustainable products, truly green products or eco-friendly products, they do cost a little bit more money, because this comes from how they are having to source or for us, upcycle, and how to clean up a material, where the sources are coming from, and the practices that it takes to get organic grass-fed beef or right.
Ethical, everything's a little bit more. So sourcing irresponsibly is way cheaper.
Yeah, it is cheaper.
And it's a lot of pollution. And if you're just thinking about making money and getting a lot of customers with your cheap product, then that's the path that you're going to go.
Yeah.
Sustainability, forget it. But the reality is, like, sustainability is a luxury, and there's a huge gap. And sometimes, well, not sometimes, we are targeting the wrong customer.
Yeah.
There's that socioeconomic status that has created a barrier.
Well, yeah, wait, can I tell you the quote that I learned? Or not a quote. I read this article, and something that came from it quickly is from psuvanguard.com.
Yeah.
And it was like what you said, just like this rang true. So what I read is, mostly white, urban, middle upper class, college educated hold the most power in our society. They craft and will work things best for themselves and not for other groups. So those are the folks that are either making the rules, or they're the ones that are creating leeway in different areas because it works for them. And because, like you had mentioned, like sustainability actually for a lot of people is a luxury. So who is it luxury for? The folks that I just mentioned,
Yes.
Right? And so in that way, that creates a barrier because if it's only for one person, one type of mindset, one type of thought process, or this is easy and comfortable for me, you're not thinking about anybody else who can't ensure that they're feeding their children.
Or the trail that you leave behind is not being thought of.
Yeah.
Yes, and I have also some numbers here.
Yeah, tell me.
So maybe the reason there's a huge gap of people who aren't thinking about it, 800 million people go to bed hungry every night. That's 17% of the world's population.
That's a lot.
And that is food insecurity right there. That's if you're thinking about being hungry, you're not thinking about a plastic water bottle.
No, you're not.
Totally.
You're grateful for that plastic water bottle because it brought nutrients to your family in whatever way. Yeah.
You don't have the luxuries to go on vacation, to go buy a new car, to go, go out to eat, go out to do this and spend, all of this money on stuff that you're not even thinking about, the production of waste that happens.
And I guess you think about it like with that too, is like these things aren't accessible, right? Meaning I'm not saying there are grocery stores, but we also know, like we talk about food deserts, right? Big companies aren't always going to invest in these areas of marginalized folks and impoverished people to put in a really big, expensive grocery store if they can't.
They're not going to get
if they're
their
not
money's
if
worth.
they're not going to get their money's worth, and these big, expensive luxury grocery stores aren't going to go there. Or, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, you have grocery stores. There's grocery deserts or food deserts that they say, and these things aren't accessible to people because it's not as it's not lucrative. That's the best thing for certain people. It's not lucrative.
Yeah. And like in our next episode, we're actually going to talk about greenwashing, this term, and there's like this umbrella term. So which it all intersects too with like what we're talking about. The it's cheaper to produce more harmful things
than it is,
and make money that quick way.
Quick. The turnaround's really quick.
Because the fact of the matter is, like, people who can only afford one thing, that's where you're gonna get
that's true.
the most of it.
Yeah, that's true. So like when you think about all of that stuff, so this inaccessibility, in which ways do you think we can like talk about making sustainable life, economic, socio, environmental?
We need to start really focusing on the group that produces the most waste. Our groups, our numbers and stuff. The upper middle class, people who have money and who can live comfortably. They're not worried about where their food's coming from. They can buy all the fancy stuff for their charcuterie board, so which there's nothing wrong with. They aren't even thinking about it because they don't have to, but they should.
Yeah, because it's accessible to them, but maybe, and that was easy and that's comfortable. But for other folks that might be uncomfortable, the idea of buying this little extra luxury, sorry, if I can buy ground beef for my family, I'm not going to buy this fancy cheese, or whatever it is. So like in that way, we have to consider like, how does our community support sustainability, like government and businesses? Because like, how are we making it more accessible? Like, I guess let's talk about the good in ways that, now that we talked about how it's not accessible, I'm just trying to be like, okay, there has to be some good out of this, right? So we're hoping
that people who have security, financial security, and their life is not uncomfortable for the most part, they could be the ones that start to close that gap of the price. That price
and
gap.
Advocate for,
because right now sustainable products are more expensive, like because it's more expensive to make. The compostable packaging.
Yes,
it's more expensive to get farm fresh stuff. These farmers are working rather than like big, huge, and But the more money that is spent in those sustainable products,
it will bring down the price.
It will start closing that gap,
Yeah.
and they will be able to overhead, like be able to produce things on a more affordable level.
Yes, and then it's more available to others.
With that, I could think of an incentive of like, you guys want to be heroes. Let's start doing this and helping make things more accessible.
Yeah. Something really cool that at least I know at our farmers markets here in our Pacific Northwest Washington state, like Snohomish Farmers Market and even the Woodinville's Farmers Market, they actually have a SNAP program where families that need a little bit extra assistance get to buy produce from their local farmer. And, and they do it, I think it's like a token system or something like that, but they are able to get it. And it's like, how awesome is it that we can provide that for our community, for folks that do need it, and they can get fresh vegetables. They get to talk to the producer and the farmers, and and then their kids get the exposure to it too. And so I think if I'm thinking about like one way that businesses or companies or small businesses are really trying to support sustainable living is by being thoughtful about how they can give back to their community, and one being accepting those type of programs that offer assistance to families, right?
Yeah.
And then not to toot our horn, but to think about, yes, there are some of our products can be kind of expensive and out of reach for some folks, but we do try like the items that we know that are going to be the hot tickets, like our Bucci bags. We made it accessible. And it's not going to burn a hole in your pocket, and it's going to last you forever, and that kind of stuff. So being really conscious about that and how us as a small business that we can give back.
And let's just, go back into those components of sustainability, like social, economical. It would not be economical for somebody to pay something they can't for a sustainable product.
Yeah.
Like that would be going against the grain of like what we're kind of trying to focus on here. Like, it wouldn't be sustainable to put yourself out for something sustainable. So there are tips for like how, like what you shouldn't do. Like when you're buying sustainable.
Yeah.
If you already have something at home that is sufficient enough and meets the needs, you don't need it.
Yeah.
So don't buy something new that's just because it's sustainable.
Yeah. No, that's true. And then I'm just thinking of another thing that I was thinking about governments and businesses and how they can make sustainable more accessible. This article I read also is like medium.com, was that governments need to incentivize and subsidize innovation and sustainability to enact ambitious policy changes.
Yeah.
So it's not just small businesses and stuff, right? It's like our government asking these big other big businesses that are actually truly have a huge carbon footprint or
totally
price gouging or whatever it is to bring things down and make things
they have
accessible
control.
to other people. Yeah,
they do. Yeah, it's almost like there needs to be like a legal
shake things up,
like
right?
We're in a critical condition here with the environment, so
so until then, like when we think about how accessible and sustainability for people. And then if anybody wants to judge or shame them or fearmonger these folks that are making these decisions of, let's say if we're talking about food, right? Buying processed foods for their families because that's the only choice.
Yeah.
Don't.
Because, or organic, non-organic.
Yeah. Conventional. Yeah. So the biggest thing is like, remember that you might be in a space where you can, and it's not because it's a choice. It's because they don't sometimes have other choices for these other
and like I've
items.
Always said too, the people who can navigate their comfort, they have a choice.
Yes. And remember that
they need to start learning how to become uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
For us to all get on that playing field.
I hear you.
So yeah, I mean, it all goes hand in hand, like social sustainability.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm with you, girl. Let's work together, with all these things that we're talking about. Let's work together with our communities to ensure that everyone can lead a happier, greener, healthy, sustainable life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening to this episode of Recouped. I'm Vicky.
And I'm Michelle.
And if you'd like to learn more about how you can live more sustainably, be sure to buy us a coffee so you can keep our show growing. We so appreciate you being there. You can find our link for our tip jar on the show notes.
Also, if you like what you're hearing and learning, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and leave a review. We would love to hear any sort of feedback.
Yes. And if you want to learn about our business and how we make our bags, check us out online, www.recoupedpnw.com. Or you can follow us on Instagram at
Everything here mentioned is linked in the show.
Yes.
So we do have sources for all of this information. We're not just like bubbling on about
That's correct. Thanks for joining us again. And remember
to reduce,
reuse,
and recoup.
Till next time. Bye-bye.
Love you guys.